This is CBC Here and Now.
This is a crisis situation. This situation needs to be addressed, not just swept under the rug.
There is a great possibility that a life or many lives could be harmed.
On strike, paramedics from 7 private ambulance services walked off the job today. We'll have the latest on what's at stake and what it will mean for residents.
It doesn't look very wintry out there. In fact, looks pretty wet. But as we head through the next couple of hours and certainly through tomorrow, winter storm warnings in effect.
After a bit of a brief absence, basketball is back here at the Mary Brown Center. Oh, sorry about that. I'm Jeremy Eaton. I'm down live here. We'll have all the details about the game tonight. That story coming up.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Our top story tonight, 100 ambulance workers are off the job. The workers at Fewers Ambulance say they have no choice as they try to get better wages and working conditions. Here and Now's Peter Cowan reports.
The picket lines are going up in towns across the province, like here in Stephenville, where 12 paramedics are off the job. And for local politicians, it's concerning.
When you get a call at any hour, day or night, and you got an ambulance, you need an ambulance. You need an ambulance. You're not just calling for fun. And I think that to see people on strike, to me, that shouldn't be happening at all.
The union representing the workers knows them being off the job will impact service. The Teamsters say that's what's prevented them from striking earlier. The companies are owned by Fewers. The union says not nearly enough of the money that government is paying for the service is going towards the people who are delivering it.
We want to show what our value is. And unfortunately, it's going to take the refusal of services and the backlog of people wanting or needing emergency services for all the people who are party to this to realize that this is a crisis situation. This situation needs to be addressed, not just swept under the rug or hope that it'll go away.
The province says there are backup plans. Ambulances from other companies and health authorities are filling the gaps. The association representing workers says there were shortages of workers even before the strike. Ambulance workers aren't considered essential like police officers or firefighters, but the head of the association says they should be.
A strike should not happen for a public safety service that is out there like paramedicine. It definitely should not happen. It should be something that government should have stepped in long ago to address this concern.
The government says that's one of the options.
All options are on the table with respect to this. As I said, we're evaluating this hour by hour. We're going to continue to do that.
The minister is hoping for a negotiated settlement, but says this could end with arbitration or legislation. Peter Cowan, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, meanwhile, Eastern Health is urging people to continue to call 911 if they need an ambulance. The interim CEO says he's reasonably confident that response times in the eastern region will be maintained throughout the strike. Ken Baird spoke with Here and Now's Ariana Kelland just a short while ago.
Assurances can you give people tonight that there will be an ambulance to come to them if they need one?
So that's the first key message is if someone needs an ambulance, we encourage them to continue to call 911, and 911 will ensure that the closest ambulance to them is dispatched to provide the care that they need. Eastern Health has implemented our Emergency Operations Center to monitor the situation over the coming days and make sure that we're responding to any pressures that we see across the system with respect to services. The Fewers Ambulance is put in place some of their own mitigations to ensure that they have resources available across their service areas. That involves using available non-unionized staff to staff up ambulances. Where resources may fall short, we have mutual aid agreements across the region for all of the service areas that we would be relying upon to ensure that alternate service providers step in and provide services as needed. And then within Eastern Health itself in the metro area, obviously we would be monitoring the situation and putting additional staff in place as needed to address any pressures that we're seeing.
We know that paramedics are facing a lot of pressure as it is. Do you think that this will be enough to ensure that someone will get an ambulance in a reasonable amount of time?
Yes, you know, we are, as I say, we're monitoring the situation. We'll address any pressures that we see arising. We are reasonably confident that the service response times will be maintained. However, we do acknowledge that there may be situations where some response times become prolonged.
And still with this story, there's more political reaction to the strike tonight. The leader of the PC party says government could and should be doing more to deal with the situation.
We're asking the Minister of Health, we're asking the Minister responsible for Labour and the Premier to intercede here, explain to the people what the plan is, so people can feel reassured that this is, can be dealt with while there's still negotiations on the go, or intercede in some way, shape or form through arbitration to sit down with the employer and the employees to come up with a solution that works so that these services are provided in the manner they're supposed to be.
Well, for you snow lovers, you are going to love the weather this weekend. In fact, things are already starting to get into our view at the moment. We've got a ridge of high pressure to the north. That means Labrador, you're going to stay out of it for the weekend, but there's a look at where our low pressure system is at the moment. Brought lots of snow across parts of the Maritime provinces today and is now headed towards Newfoundland and Labrador and will be our weather maker right through the weekend. So here's a look right now, the weather just south, or the snow just south at the moment, definitely at the Avalon, and we're going to see that creep further north as we head through at least the next couple of hours. But Environment Canada has a number of warnings in place, winter storm warnings for the Avalon, Bonavista Peninsula, as well as Clarenville, Terra Nova. You are under a blowing snow advisory, and then the Burin Peninsula is under a snowfall warning. How is this all going to play out? Well, we'll start to see that snow, like I said, over the next couple of hours. As the low skirts, it's going to bring some heavy snow through a good chunk of the afternoon tomorrow. Not overly windy, but still enough to lead to some blowing snow. That will continue right through the day. Eventually, as we get into Sunday, things will clear out. I'll tell you how much we're going to expect coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, the battle over bright lighting in the Outer Battery escalated early this morning into vigilantism. Police say a 32-year-old man was charged after trying to take matters into his own hands. Here now's Ryan Cook has this update.
The lights are still up, just as bright as ever. 32-year-old James Drover failed in his efforts this morning to bring down the Outer Battery lights, but he did pick up some charges: trespassing and damaging property. Local resident Judith Adler says this one is on the city.
When city officials don't do their job of protecting the public, and and they evade it, because they don't have the guts and the courage to take the slightest risk to do their job, then other people take unwarranted risks, dangerous risks. It's passed on potentially to kids who don't know what they're getting into. And, when you don't have the rule of law, you get vigilantism.
Colin Way has had these lights shining on the Outer Battery for months. Drover says he was just trying to move them away from people's houses. He didn't succeed. In a Facebook post, Drover says the arresting officer shook his hand and called him Batman. We waited to speak with Way today, but he didn't get out of his truck. His lawyer, Bob Buckingham, says Outer Battery residents have promoted, quote, cyber violence and actual violence on social media. But Adler says that's not what anyone wants to see.
We don't want anybody to do that for two reasons. One, because it plays into the hands of the bullies. And two, because we don't want good people, innocent people, and we sure don't want young people to get hurt.
Adler says they're taking heart from the many humorous takes on their struggles, like Sean Panting's song. But humor alone is not enough.
What is the next step here?
I don't know. I don't know.
Is that troubling?
Very.
Yeah. Ryan Cook, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, there are new details tonight from police about last week's sudden death on Bell Island. The RCMP say the incident began with two men fighting inside a home, and that fight continued outside. It resulted in the death of one man. Police say the two knew each other, but they aren't saying yet whether the ongoing investigation will result in criminal charges. Well, the tiny town with a big, smelly problem. Residents of St. Mary's gathered for a meeting today to discuss how to get the site of a shuttered seafood sauce plant cleaned up once and for all. About 70 people gathered in the town hall in St. Mary's. This after CBC Investigates reported on old testing results from the abandoned plant. Here now's Rob Antle reports.
Cheyenne Hines attended this school in St. Mary's, not far from this long-shuttered fish sauce plant. There were days that wasn't a great combination.
I'm a graduate from the school just up here, Dunn Memorial Academy, and there was days in our gym class where we could barely breathe because of the smell when we were outside. Residents
have been asking for years to have smelly, rotting fish sauce in this building cleaned up. Those calls were renewed this week after CBC Investigates revealed the details of Environment Canada testing results from 2016. Liquid waste from there was found to be acutely lethal to fish in lab tests. A pipe was plugged to stop it from entering the water, but the town now wants the problem dealt with once and for all.
We don't think that our small town should be responsible for any cleanup.
This abandoned fish sauce plant behind me made national news this week, but it's a local issue. And this afternoon, the council in St. Mary's held a public meeting to tell residents what they know about the situation and what they hope happens next. A focus at Town Hall on what the province could do to help. People at the meeting said the Premier should be there after these comments yesterday.
It's not straightforward, it's quite complex to seek resolution. So we're happy to work with agencies involved, other levels of government involved, and private citizens to resolve the issue for those that it's impacted.
Today, the provincial environment minister put the focus on the owner of the property. The company dissolved 17 years ago.
There's 3 departments in government that are working to track down this individual and ensure that this individual is, as we've always said, pollute or pay. If they've got an issue that they haven't cleaned up, they have to clean it up. That's where we're going to continue our focus is on that individual, finding that individual to fix this problem that they've created.
The mayor says the focus now is on securing the site and finding a more permanent solution.
We want to clean up ASAP. No ifs, ands, or buts. As a town, St. Mary's, we're after taking no. And this, no for the money here, no for the money there. No more no's.
There you go.
No more no's.
Rob Antle, CBC News, St. Mary's.
Well, in health news, the number of new influenza cases in the province has dropped for the second week in a row. The latest data indicates there were 14 confirmed cases between January 8th and 14th and 3 hospitalizations, but no ICU admissions or deaths. ER visits and calls to the emergency line have also decreased, which is on par with what's happening nationally. The overall flu season here has seen close to 1,000 lab-confirmed cases of influenza A, resulting in 19 deaths. Just more than half of those cases are people under the age of 45. Now to the Trinity Loop. The former amusement park site may be getting a second life. Government is looking for proposals to develop the decrepit but historic property, which includes 10 hectares of land on the Bonavista Peninsula. The Trinity Loop amusement park was once a bustling family attraction with a historically significant railway track, but the park shut down 20 years ago and eventually turned into a vandalized eyesore. Government says it will only consider tourism-related proposals like RV parks, resorts, campgrounds, cottage rentals, or tourist attractions. The deadline for proposals is March 3rd. The trial questioning the validity of the Qalipu band membership enrollment process continued in St. John's this morning. Today, the Provincial Supreme Court heard about the work of the original enrollment committee and the concerns that federal officials had about it. Here now's Mark Quinn reports.
Former Newfoundland and Labrador Cabinet Minister Tom Rideout took the witness stand by video conference. In 2008, he was appointed chair of the Enrollment Committee for the Qalipu Mi'kmaq Band. Rideout said it was an independent committee with 5 members, including 2 federal government appointees and 2 Federation of Newfoundland Indians appointees. But documents show federal officials exerted pressure that tested that independence. Rideout said it was reasonable for Canada to ask to review 10% of the applicants that were approved, and these letters entered as evidence in court show that in 2011 those reviews were raising concerns for federal officials. Of particular concern are affidavits in support of substantial connection with the Newfoundland pre-Confederation community, said one letter. Rideout says the Enrollment Committee, in his words, tightened up its review of affidavits after receiving this letter. Once the Qalipu Band was officially created by Canada in 2011, the influx of applications jumped dramatically. Federal officials wrote this steep increase meant they would require increased monitoring measures in order to meet Canada's due diligence duties, and they asked to review 100% of the applicants from non-residents of Newfoundland and 20% of those from residents. In court, Rideout said he disagreed with this. We initially agreed to 10%. I thought this request was stretching independence. I was reluctant to go further than 10%. In 2013, the FNI in Canada entered into a supplemental agreement. It introduced a point system for band membership. The result was that 10,000 people who were accepted by the committee that Rideout chaired were rejected. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, now to sports. Basketball is back at the Mary Brown Centre. The Newfoundland Rogues' inaugural season was cut short due to COVID, but the team has bounced back. It's a new league with new faces, and the coach says it's been a year in the making. Here now's Jeremy Eaton is courtside tonight, where fans have had a long wait to get back for a game. Jeremy, what's the mood like down there tonight?
Well, I can barely hear you, Carolyn, so that's why I had my ear plugged. But it's pretty electric here. As you can see, there's new blue seats from the last time basketball fans would have been on. They've got the ring board on, which is fired up, and there's already fans in the seats, and the door is literally just open. But this is the Newfoundland Rogues' first game since February of last year, when their season got cut short due to COVID-19. Now, this is a new league called the Basketball League, or TBL. But some of the players are the same, the sport remains the same, and they've got a new rival here. This is the Raleigh, what are they called? The Raleigh Firebirds are there playing behind us. Now, earlier today, I got the chance to come down to practice and chat with the Newfoundland Rogues coach, Jerry Williams, about how the team is feeling about the game tonight.
We're all feeling excited. Just happy to be here, happy to get this thing going. It seemed like forever ago, but we're back here. I'm feeling excited. I really couldn't sleep last night just from the excitement of coming out here and just putting on the show for the fans. For me, it hasn't slowed down. It's almost been a year since we've been here, and I've worked almost every single day up until this point right here, and still got a lot of work to do tonight and along with the season. For the guys, they got on the island 2 weeks ago, and I've pushed them every single day since they've been here, and hopefully it shows tonight. We've been busy working, and we're going to put on the show tonight for the fans. It's no pressure. I mean, you always want to win as many games as you can. As you say, it is a different league, so we're playing against teams that could really, really play. Going undefeated is a far stretch. Every coach wants to do it, but it's a far fetch when you're playing good leagues. You really can't do that. But we'll try our best to win as many games as possible. You throw them out there in practice, but you let them sit back during the games and let them see it first. Because if you throw them to the wolves, they're going to act just like they are young, like a fish out of water. So you let them sit back and see it during the games, and then eventually they start to get it, they start to see it, it starts to slow down to them. Because right now everything is going 1,000 miles per hour for them. They should be nervous. It's a good thing. We haven't scored one basket here this year. We haven't won one game here, so everybody's 0-0. So we need to come in with the mindset that we want to make them send a message tonight.
So as Coach Williams was saying, They're not going to go undefeated this season, but a fun fact, the Newfoundland Rogues have actually never lost a game. Prior to the season getting cut short last year, they were undefeated, but the likelihood of that happening is sort of slim to none. Now, people are going to fill in here by the time tip-off starts in 41 minutes and 3 seconds, and what we've been told is there's about 1,000 to 1,200 tickets sold, so fans are turning out despite the storm. But later on, we're going to hear from the president of the TBL who's flown in for this game. Reporting live from the Mary Brown Centre in St. John's, I'm Jeremy Eaton.
Well, take a look at this forecast. Very different from yesterday. Looking at some areas seeing more than 55 centimeters of snow. I'll get into the forecast details coming up.
These are the people I know. People who are educated, interesting, career-minded, and still very proud of their Indigenous culture.
They're vibrant, they're bold, and they're on display now at the rooms. Nelson White shows us the community leaders and creators featured in his latest exhibition. Stay with us, that's still to come on Here and Now.
This weather forecast has been brought to you by Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism. Whatever you're up for this winter, discover experience packages at winterupnl.ca.
woke up to a dusting of snow this morning, but lots more to come. My goodness, this looks like a big storm.
It could be. It certainly could be. That snow earlier today didn't have anything to do with the system that is on its way here as we head through the next couple of hours. So let's take a look at where we sat today, though. It did feel a bit winter-like, especially with that nice dusting, but 0 degrees is where we sat in St. John's. Somewhere below that, so between -1 and -3, I guess, across the rest of the island. And then up across Labrador, that cold air up, especially in the west. Lab City at -17 today, -20 in Churchill Falls. But much milder, though, as you head towards the coast. Cartwright only at -3 today, and Mary's Harbour sitting around -2. Now, big ridge of high pressure, this story for you this weekend, so not really a whole lot to talk about as far as weather goes. It will be cold but sunny for most of the big land, but all the weather will be across the island, and really eastern half of the island at this point is what it's looking like. So we're already starting to see some of those cloud cover moving in, some of the bands of precipitation as well along the south coast. But there is that area of low pressure. The track will be to the south, but it's still close enough to bring a significant snowstorm, it looks like, to the eastern portion of the island. Right now, this is where we're sitting temperature-wise, hovering around -1 in St. John's. That wind chill feeling more like -6. Similar temperatures across the island, and then up across Labrador, much colder, -21 right now in Lab City, and temperatures into the -teens as you head towards the coast. Now, taking a look at the tonight forecast, temperatures really dipping, especially across Lab City, down to -29 tonight. Light winds, so not too much in the way of a wind chill, but those temperatures dipping through Happy Valley, Goose Bay, staying in the -teens towards the coast. And then temperatures really not moving a whole lot from where we're sitting now across the island, except for the northern peninsula, down to about -8 or -9 overnight tonight. Otherwise, somewhere between 0 and about -4. The winds are going to start to ramp up as the system moves in, especially for the east, where we're looking at those northeasterlies between 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. Now, tomorrow, temperatures hovering around 0 or 1. And then for eastern Newfoundland, as you head towards the west coast, much cooler, between -2 and -3 or -6, even up across parts of the northern peninsula. Your winds will be a bit brisk as well, between 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. Then nothing but sunshine up across the big land. A really lovely winter day, -9 in Mary's Harbour, -12 in Bukovic, and then those temperatures as you head towards Lab West will be a bit colder, hovering around -18 or -19, and really there's not a whole lot to talk about for your weather as we head even into Sunday. So right now, here's a look at the satellite and radar. Like I said, you can see that snow edging in already along the south coast. You're not going to pick up too much in the way of accumulation, especially towards the southwest, but you'll still see some flurries through the overnight tonight. All of the action will be as we head further east. So some of that snow already edging towards the northern Burin Peninsula, and then along the southern Avalon as well. This is going to work its way north as we head through the night tonight. As you can see, Future Tracker actually doing a very good job already as to where the placement of this snow is. So as we head through into about 10 or 11 o'clock, this is when we're going to start to get into some of that heavier snow. The darker the color, the heavier the snow. So you can already see that for the southern Avalon as we head through to Friday, into the overnight tonight, and then by tomorrow morning. We may see a bit of a lull in the snow. Don't be fooled by that, because as we head into the afternoon hours, that snow really going to get heavy as we get into some of that heavier band, especially across the Avalon, but we'll likely see some of those bands potentially towards Terra Nova and then the Bonavista Peninsula as well. If we're going to see significant snowfall in the Burin Peninsula, it looks like it will be to the south. That will move through, continue right through Saturday night and even into Sunday morning. Eventually, we will see that snow taper off, and then actually Sunday looking pretty nice eventually as we get into there. Here's the snowfall forecast. I do think we will see somewhere between 35 to 55 centimeters, including the metro area, but particularly in the higher elevations. That's where the most snow should fall. So if we're going to see 55 centimeters, that's more than likely where it will be. The rest of the Avalon between 25 to 35 centimeters, certainly likely. And then maybe even edging into Clarenville and the Bonavista Peninsula. The Burin Peninsula, though, between 15 and 25. Again, the most, if we do see it, will be on the Boo. And then as we head towards Gander, you're talking about 5 to as much as 15 centimeters falling in that time frame. So we'll time it out. I'll tell you when to expect what when we come back.
Grade 4 and 5 students at Hazelwood Elementary in St. John's got a lesson from one of our own today. They learned how they can make a difference in the world around them. Reporter Ariana Kelland, who you saw earlier in the show tonight, she stopped by to talk about journalism and share stories from other inspiring young people like Malala Yousafzai and Greta Thunberg. The class even made their own news reports about issues they see in their communities and ways to help. A new show at the Rooms is showcasing the variety and vibrancy of modern Indigenous life, and it may not be what you expect. It's by Nelson White, a Mi'kmaq painter and member of the Flat Bay First Nation Band. The show opens with a public reception tonight. Weekend AM host Heather Barrett swung by for a preview.
My show Dukian is about kind of pushing back against the stereotype of what Indigenous people are. Indigenous people tend to be seen in one light, and I paint people from my life who are cool, interesting, funky Indigenous people. Hi, my name is Nelson White. I'm an Indigenous painter, and we're here at the Rooms for the opening of my show Dukian Awaken.
When you say pushing back on what people think Indigenous people are all about, like what do you mean by that?
People tend to come with preconceived notions of what Indigenous people are. Either that we're a people of the past, or we're a people of poverty, or we're a people who are only in regalia and feathers and those sort of things. Those are not the people I know in my life. I love lots of people who are dancers and wear regalia on powwows and certain times throughout the year. But these are the people I know. People who are educated, interesting, career-minded, and still very proud of their Indigenous culture.
Well, there's one painting that really stood out to me. It's of a firefighter, and he appears to be in a helicopter or something.
That's actually my brother.
Oh, really?
My brother Cal, who's a firefighter, works for the Department of Forestries, and fights forest fires.
So Nelson, who do we have here?
This is Dr. John Nick Jador. John Nick is a young man who is an accomplished doctor, and I just wanted to portray that he's successful in his field.
What do we have here?
This is a painting called NWA, Natives with Attitude. It's Stony Bear Singers. They're musicians and drum groups out of New Brunswick. And I just wanted to show young, proud Indigenous men.
What do you hope people take away from spending time with this collection and getting to know the people in the paintings?
That Indigenous people are cool, that we are interesting, we come from a variety of walks of life, that we are not just one thing, we are not just a stereotype that you can see in a Western or see at a powwow. We are more than the sum of the parts, that we are all through society, and that's sort of what I want people to take away from that.
Very nice. Well, we're going to head back down to the Mary Brown Centre in St. John's now. It's not long before the first tip-off. The Newfoundland Rogues are about to kick off their second season, and here now's Jeremy Eaton is courtside taking it all in. So, Jeremy, how's it looking?
To roll in here at the Mary Brown Centre. I was about to call it the Mile One Centre, Mary Brown Centre. There's 23 minutes before the tip-off of the second season for the Newfoundland Rogues. But joining us now is the president of this new league that the Rogues are in, the TBL, the Basketball League, David Magley. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, TBL is a little bit new for us here in Newfoundland and Labrador. Can you just tell us a little bit about the league, David?
Yes, we're entering our sixth season. We have 49 teams. We have 3 in Canada, 2 in Quebec, 1 in here in Newfoundland, and then we have a partnership with the NBL Canada and their 4 teams in Ontario. So literally, it's a 53-team league of high-level players. We have multiple guys in the NBA, G League, coaches that coached in the NBA, G League, major Division I colleges. The level of play is really good, but what makes us unique is we're all about community. We want to drive that home. That's why Tony Kenny, his family, his son Diego, that's the GM, all those folks just love their community, and that means our guys will be there impacting lives, getting to know them, and becoming a real asset to Newfoundland.
So why was it important for the president of a 53-team league, or 49-team league, to fly up from Indianapolis, to fly from Indianapolis for opening game?
Well, honestly, for me, I'm a really big fan of the Kennys and what they're doing here. I was here before the other team came, trying to get it together before I left the NBL Canada as commissioner. So I've had a love affair for this city for a long time. I couldn't possibly miss it. And it does work that the majority of our teams don't get started till a little later. So this is early for us, and it just worked out for me to come up. And I wish our CEO could have came, but she's at home taking care of grandbabies, so we all kind of have to do our job.
For those who don't know, the CEO is your wife, Evelyn, correct?
Yes, she's my boss. I just implement her plan.
So how excited are you now? You said you've been trying to get a team here for a while. You got the team here now. How excited are you to see this Newfoundland Rogues team here behind you about to play their first game in your league?
I'm very excited. I'm excited about them picking up Ron Artest III. They've got a great coach. They've got a good team. And I'm just excited for the buzz of what I think we can mean to St. John's. I think if we do it well, we can really become a real piece of this community fiber and be here for a long time. And that's what we want to be.
Julie, my phone died, but I'm going to ask him one more question. I couldn't let you go. You're kind of well known on the internet because in the year 1981, you scored 24 points against someone. Can you just in about 30 seconds tell us about that game?
Yeah, I had a good game against North Carolina with James Worthy, Sam Perkins, and a guy named Mike Jordan. And it was his first game as a freshman. I had 24, he had 12, but I wear Jordans. He doesn't wear ground Magleys. I wear Air Jordans, so he did a little better than I did.
Well, David, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us.
Come on, support your team.
This is David Magley, president of the TBL, the Basketball League. I'm Jeremy Eaton, live at Mile 1, and reporting live from the Mary Brown Center. I'm Jeremy Eaton for Here and Now.
Lichens are important for a lot of reasons. They provide a lot of food and habitat for animals. There's compounds in lichens that we can use in pharmaceuticals and cosmetics. And they also store a lot of carbon.
Well, from cosmetics to climate change, there's lots to love about lichen. We venture into the fog forest to learn more with an expert that's just ahead. The fog forest covers almost the entire Avalon Peninsula, and according to the Nature Conservancy of Canada, it's one of the most threatened and unique forests in all of North America. As part of our Habitat series, host Andy Bowman takes us there to explore what's so special about the many species of lichen that grow there.
This area was slated for logging. I think it was in the 1980s, and there was a man living in this area by the name of Eugene Conway, and he spent tons of time walking around this area, and he stumbled on the boreal felt lichen, and he knew enough to know that it was an important find. And at that point, the boreal felt lichen globally was only known from Scandinavia, and it was severely declining. So there was this worry that it was going to go completely extinct. And so as soon as he found it, he notified some lichenologists he knew in Europe. And the story people tell me, I wasn't around at that time, but is that one of them almost literally jumped on a plane to come over here. He was that excited about this discovery.
Today, we're in the fog forest. We're smack dab in the middle of the Avalon Peninsula, and we're on the lookout for boreal felt lichen. And this is the place to find it. Some lichenologists call this area the boreal rainforest. What exactly is a lichen?
A lichen is actually two different organisms living together. It's a fungus and an algae. So the algae is a small plant that photosynthesizes and makes sugar, and the fungus is providing the structure for the algae to live in. And then in some cases, there's also a cyanobacteria, which is a completely different kingdom, but also can photosynthesize. And this is an example here. This lichen is a cyanolichen, so it has a fungus, an algae, and a cyanobacteria, all living together in one, making a unique organism called a lichen. Every time a lichen expert comes to Newfoundland, they find a new species for the province. So something that's we know to science, but we didn't know was here. Just because of the climate, we're kind of at this ideal sort of Goldilocks zone almost, where we're warm enough to have some warm weather species, but we're cold enough that we also have species that will range all the way to the Arctic. So that increases that's why you find so many species of lichens right in this area. It's this sort of mix of climate. So this one over here.
Oh yeah,
there's lots of it, yeah. Lichens are important for a lot of reasons. They provide a lot of food and habitat for animals. Animals use them for nesting material. From a human standpoint, there's compounds in lichens that we can use in pharmaceuticals and cosmetics. And they also store a lot of carbon. So from a climate change perspective, they're important. Lichens are a bit of a canary in a coal mine. When you see them disappear, it tells you that there's a problem with the air quality because they're so sensitive.
I know this area is partially protected. Why is that so important?
It's important to have protection for this area because it's really rich biodiversity. Like from a global lichenological perspective, it's got so many species that are interesting to us. It's also within Newfoundland really unique and has just home for a lot of different species. And it's kind of critical to protect it to make sure they stay here. And because lichens are slow growing and they need older trees, it's difficult to replicate this anywhere else. So if we protect it, then we have a better chance of making sure it's maintained for the long term.
If the government sets this aside as an ecological reserve, what other benefits come with that?
So ecological reserves, like Mistaken Point, for example, is an ecological reserve that gets a lot of global attention, and in fact recently was a UNESCO biosphere reserve, but even ecological reserves like Cape St. Mary's, they have education and outreach opportunities for school groups, for tourists, for the general public, and so that could come with this ecological reserve. Not all ecological reserves have that, but that is a possibility. There's also potentially funding for things like monitoring, enforcement, just to make sure that everything is properly sort of looked after.
Lunar New Year Year is coming up this weekend, and that means festive food, red envelopes, parades, and performances, including a Lunar New Year favorite, the Lion Dance. You're watching the Vancouver Lion Dance Association. The group works hard to keep the connection to the ancient Chinese tradition alive. We'll have more celebrations. Birthdays and anniversaries are coming up next. Let's find out who's celebrating. Happy anniversary to Earl and Mary Oram of Gambo. They're celebrating 61 years of marriage. Happy 63rd anniversary to Philip and Helen Buckle of English Point, Labrador. Wishing Ray and Dorothy Gullidge from Bonavista a happy 50th anniversary. Anniversary greetings going out to William and Isabel Fillier in St. John's. It's their 58th. Happy 50th anniversary to Gordon and Valerie Golding in Holyrood. Happy 54th anniversary to Molly and Gerald Saunders from Gander. Congratulations to Mark and Marguerite Avery of Long Beach. It's their 60th anniversary. Happy 73rd anniversary to Max and Sheila Porter of Porterville. Max's 92nd birthday is on the same day, so lots to celebrate. Congratulations. Happy 68th anniversary to Walter and Gladys Osmond of Port aux Basques. Congratulations to Doug and Catherine Devereaux of Holyrood. They're marking 50 years of marriage. Happy 60th anniversary to Lloyd and Elizabeth Hicks of Port Hope Simpson. Wishing Robert and Pansy Small of Gander a happy 50th anniversary. Happy 59th anniversary to Stephen and Myrtle Gregory in Paradise. Best wishes to Nina and Raymond Pelly from Springdale, who are celebrating 57 years together. 50th anniversary greetings going out to Marilyn and Bruce Oldford of Grand Falls, Windsor. Now to some birthdays. Happy birthday to Avis Mesh. She's turning 90. Happy 95th birthday to Walter Chaffee of Musgravetown. Raymond Gajou is celebrating his 90th birthday in Conception Bay South. Congratulations to Bob Moore of St. John's, who turned 91 yesterday. Wishing Violet Vivian a happy 90th birthday. She lives in Corner Brook. Best wishes to Cecilia Walsh in Corner Brook. She's turning 93. A milestone for a former track and field star. Max Kirby turns 100 tomorrow. Happy 98th birthday to Elsie Pearl Bowers in Middle Arm. Wishing Josiah Butt of Brooklyn, Newfoundland a happy 93rd birthday today. Happy birthday to Miriam Nee of Badgers Key, who's turning 91 today. A very happy 90th birthday to Harold Crane in St. John's. Happy 90th birthday to Pearl Neal, who's celebrating in Mount Pearl. Birthday greetings going out to Elizabeth Lewis of Baytona, who just turned 95. Wishing Mita Pye a happy 92nd birthday. She's celebrating in Charlottetown, Labrador. Happy 92nd birthday to Hilda Pike in Corner Brook, and a triple-digit finish. Happy 103rd birthday to Florence Spencer in St. John's. Wow, 103, my goodness.
Amazing.
And lots of people who enjoy snow will be celebrating as well, because there's lots of snow on the way. I guess folks should really settle in tomorrow for a long snow day. But what about the winds?
Yeah, so I have a lot of people asking me if this is going to be like Snowmageddon, because we're talking about significant snowfall amounts. It's not going to be like Snowmageddon, only because we're not seeing the heavy winds like we did. I think we topped at 154 kilometers per hour 3 years ago, but that's not going to be the case. So let's just take a look at what's going to happen as far as the timeline goes for the wind. So as we head through the overnight tonight, some of us will start to see those winds gusting between 40 and 60 kilometers per hour. They may top out at about 70 kilometers per hour in some areas, particularly in exposed areas, as we head into the early morning hours. So this will be combined with some snow, so it will lead to blowing snow, but I do think the snow will be a bit wet, which will reduce visibilities, but not quite as much as if the snow was a little bit drier. As we head through the afternoon hours on Saturday, winds will definitely be gusting between 50 to as much as 70 kilometers per hour for most of eastern Newfoundland, and in those exposed areas, we may see those winds gusting higher than that. Now, once we get past 6 or 7 o'clock, even 8 o'clock in the evening tomorrow night, the winds will be gusting somewhere between 80 and as much as 90 kilometers per hour. If we do see those winds, that will be the time frame that we see them. Now, as we head into the early morning hours on Sunday, the winds will start to die down. So we'll be talking about 30 to as much as 50 kilometers per hour, which will be good news for cleanup, because this is when the snow will also taper off, and by the time we get into the evening hours, those winds really tapering off. Here's the timeline for St. John's metro area. Starting soon, within the next hour or so, we should start to see that snow, and then it'll start to get a little bit heavier as we head into mid-morning tomorrow morning, and then by noon to about 12 a.m. this is when we should start to see some of the heaviest snowfall. We could be talking about 2 to 5 centimeters falling hourly. So that, combined with those northeasterlies or northerly winds, will lead to blowing snow for sure, and those reduced visibilities. Total still looking between 35 to 55 centimeters of snow. Again, if we see the 55 centimeters, it will more than likely be in those higher elevations between midnight and 6 a.m. Still looking at snow, not nearly as heavy, and then eventually tapering off to flurries as we get into Sunday morning. Now, Sunday will be a beautiful day for cleanup. Take a look at those temperatures into the minus single digits, plenty of sunshine up across Labrador. And then by the time we get into Sunday evening and overnight, this is when we are looking at some more snow and then potentially over to rain for eastern Newfoundland as we get into Monday afternoon. So not too bad, but another system moving through. Long range forecast looks above zero for Tuesday. Again, flurries will return on Wednesday. As far as central Newfoundland is concerned, you'll see that warm up as well on Tuesday, and then that big drop as we head into Wednesday. And then for eastern Labrador, some flurries right through to Tuesday, and then some sunshine for Wednesday. Same thing for western Labrador. Just before we leave you tonight, I wanted to leave you with a nice snowy scene there. This one is a winter wonderland in Makova. Kathy Ford shared that with me. If you have any weather photos, send them to Facebook, Twitter, or email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing sights like that, I guess, in our neck of the woods.
In a couple of hours.
It's going to be nice, I think, on Sunday for a nice hike.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Get the snowshoes out. We haven't been able to use them in a while. The dogs will be very happy. Everybody will be happy, unless you're having to dig out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Send us pictures if you do something outdoorsy on the weekend.
And be safe.
Yes, for sure. Well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend.
Good night.